guys was waiting for me to do this. We definitely have to talk about the Myles Garrett, Jarrett verse trade. Of course, we go jump into some details. But first, I got to say this. Shout out to my wife. She called this trade about 2 years ago that Myles Garrett would be in LA. And she had her reasons, and she's really good at this. She probably could take over the show if need be. Probably do a better job, y'all. Probably be ready to get rid of me. But she got other things to do, so you stuck with me. So, this is D. Welcome to the D Knows, our little light radio show. We are working on the studio, getting it together so we can be on screen. We'll be getting into the live videos and live shows real soon here. Training camp is around the corner, so we getting there. We getting there, people. So be patient with me. Like, subscribe, share the page. I appreciate all you guys who are coming, hanging out, leaving messages on the videos. So let's just get into this. So I really wanted to talk about this trade because, of course, we see all the media and the news, and they cover Myles Garrett was traded to the Rams, and there's big hype around it. And, make no mistake about it. The Rams right now, they have a Hall of Fame player in Myles Garrett on a team that was already, in my opinion, Super Bowl caliber. I mean, you got Matt Stafford, you getting Puka Nacua back. Hopefully he got his mind right. And the rest of those guys over there. That team, to me, was already elite. They had that young defensive line in Jarrett Verse and Braden Fisk and Kobe Young and all of those guys over there. So that team was really, really growing. And, I guess they looked at the situation. Les Snead over there, we heard what he said, F them picks a few years ago, and he won a Super Bowl doing that. The credit that they don't really give Les is he is an excellent drafter. So because he didn't have those first round picks, he was able to hit on those second and third round picks, which is a lot of what their team is made up of. But, make no mistake about it. The Rams got the best player in the short term. But to me, that don't mean that the Browns didn't win this trade. Now, let me say this. Both teams won from the perspectives of, the Rams felt like they got the elite player right away. Myles Garrett, he's in his prime or, in that window of his prime. And they feel like maybe that is that X factor piece. The whole cake is built over there in LA already. So, this is just icing on the cake at this point to make that run. But like I said, I think the Browns, shout out to Andrew Berry. I was on his head for the last few years, and it looks like he's done a total 180. His drafts have been excellent, and I think this trade was amazing. So let's just go over the trade real quick. I know everybody heard the details of the trade, but this will get me to the context of what I'm talking about. So, of course, the Rams received Myles Garrett. Of course, he looks like he's going to be a future Hall of Famer the way it's going. He's 30 years old. He's a two-time Defensive Player of the Year. He broke the sack record last season. And on the Browns end, the Browns received Jarrett Verse. He's 25 years old. He was the 2024 Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's a two-time Pro Bowler himself. And the Browns also got a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 conditional third-round pick that I think could turn into a first-round pick some way, somehow. I'm not sure right now, but you guys go look it up. Leave it in the comments and let me know what that conditional could turn into. But, when you think about this whole situation, and like I said, I see a lot of Browns fans and even casual fans that aren't really paying attention to the details of everything. we know that Myles Garrett is ahead of Jared Verse as far as the abilities go right now. But it's not as much as y'all think it is, to be totally honest. Now I'm about to talk about Myles Garrett and Jared Verse last 2 seasons. Get ready for this. Myles Garrett had 167 pressures. Jared Verse had 167 pressures. Myles Garrett, where he stands apart at, he had 37 sacks. So that means he does get home more than Jared Verse, who had 12 sacks. Myles had 55 tackles for loss, and Jared Verse had 22 tackles for loss. But when you look at these the pressure numbers, Garrett had 167, and Jared Verse had 157. Only 10 pressures separate them. So this is some elite stuff. You're talking about a player that's only been in the league 2 years in Jared Verse. This guy is going to be a bona fide star. Know a lot of people don't know about him. When you're out there in LA, you got Matt Stafford, you got the Lakers down the street, you got the Dodgers down the street. And, the defensive end is not going to get covered like that. But he has been very productive. He's very disruptive. He just does not get home like Myles Garrett does. But, again, he's in his second year. Myles Garrett is going into year 10. Myles Garrett has mastered the tools of the trades at this point, and Jared Verse is just getting started. So, when you look at this situation and you guys ask me who I think won the trade, I definitely give it to the Browns if I had to pick a side. I mean, again, Myles Garrett was 30 years old. Regardless of how bad the Browns franchise has been, of course, we know, yes, they don't have a quarterback. Even them getting Deshaun Watson, they tried, and that has been a fail, and every other quarterback they've brought in has been a fail. But Myles Garrett, for all the sacks that he had and the disruptions that he had in games, those didn't equate to wins. And for a while, this is why I had TJ Watt over Myles Garrett. Because if anybody know that watched the Pittsburgh Steelers those years with Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and all those guys were playing quarterback, TJ Watt would have at least 2 or 3 plays a game where he's doing a strip sack fumble or he's picking off the ball and it's putting the Steelers in position to score points, and they ultimately will win the game based off of TJ Watt's disruption on defense. Myles Garrett is more so of the guy who just seeks and destroys. And me personally, he was in a situation where the Browns aren't winners. As disruptive as he can be, they just not a winning organization. So when you're not a winning organization, they're not, while they'll slide double teams or triple teams on them here and there, they're not buying into, excuse me, that was my alarm going off. They're not buying into the Browns as a whole. So they say, if we gonna give up a couple sacks to Myles Garrett a game, but at the same time, we beat the Browns 40-14, doesn't matter. If the Browns are going to end up 4-13, doesn't matter. So I think everything goes in context with things like that. And again, when you look at the Jared Verse trade, when you get pretty much a first-round pick in Jared Verse, he's still controllable. He's still got 3 or 4 years left on his contract. Then you get a first-round pick. Then you get a second-round pick, and then you get a conditional third. The Browns building for the future. Myles is still playing at an elite level. He had his best season last year, but he's also 30 years old. At the end of the year, he'll be 31. At some point, as much of a freak of nature as Myles Garrett is, he's going to slow down a little bit at some point. So the Rams being in the situation that they're in, they feel like they're going for the gusto. You just paid Matt Stafford for a couple more years. He's almost 40 years old. And let me say this: Matt Stafford is probably the best quarterback in football in the last 2 years. But he's also an older guy. So, I think this is the last dance with these guys for the next couple years. They drafted Ty Simpson, so they said, let's just go all in. I mean, they made a lot of moves, the Rams did, and, they're setting themselves up for a Super Bowl. And hopefully, for their sake, that works out, because if it doesn't, that is going to be a massive fail. That's going to be a massive fail. And when you look at the Browns situation, yes, again, the Browns are in a rebuilding situation. The Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson era didn't work out the way they wanted to, so they're in a full-on rebuild. They got a youth movement going on. They're bringing Jared Verse in. What I will say is that he does better than Myles Garrett is. I think he has a commanding presence. Myles Garrett is a guy that he's kind of mercurial. He does his job. When he gets on that field, he's going to do his job. But Jared Verse, he is a competitor. He has leadership intangibles. And he's going to have that defense hyped up. So while right now he may not be on the level of Myles Garrett, or may never get on the level, we don't know. They're in two different spaces. Jared Verse is growing. Myles Garrett right now is an elite company. But that is the one thing that Jared Verse does well that Myles didn't really do well in Cleveland. He was not a leader. Jared Verse is a leader. He gonna talk too. He said, I ain't trying to be Myles Garrett. I'm Jared Verse. You heard his press conference today. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna do what I do and be the best player and the best defensive player in the NFL. Oh, he talks a big game and he backs it up. And I'm telling you, he's on his way to take that next step. The Browns got to steal. And we think about the Browns right now, they're in a situation where they're looking at that 2027 draft. They just got another first-round draft pick. They get one of these quarterbacks. They're probably not going to be that great. Let's just say they win between 4 and 7 games. Okay, that's going to put you in the top 5 to top 10. They package up a couple picks. They get their Arch Manning or Dante Moore or Lenore Sellers or any of these quarterbacks out here that's going to be in that 2027 draft. And they have pretty much figured out their youth movement. And you got Jared Verse under control for the next 3 or 4 years before you have to pay him. So you essentially replace Myles Garrett with Myles Garrett light right now. And Jared Verse is better to me against the run. So when you got all these things, all these intangibles that Jared brings, like I said, Myles Garrett right now, as far as the stats go, he is the better player. He's the more dominant player, the most disruptive player. But Jared Verse is not that far apart. And for this trade to happen the way it happened, the Browns really made out like bandits. Like I said, the Rams didn't lose this trade. They just operating under a win now mode. Especially if they feel like they can get Aaron Donald out of retirement. Now listen, I'm going to say this about the whole Aaron Donald thing. I think he's one of the greatest defensive players I've ever seen. And I'm not going to doubt him that he can't come out and have moments. But he's also been out the game 2 years. Yes, he keeps himself in shape. He does all of those things, but he has not been in the trenches in 2 years. Who's to say he gets out there? Let's just say he does come back. And he gets out there and he's in training camp, or he comes back the first part of the season because he doesn't want to do training camp. And he get in those trenches with them offensive linemen and he get knocked down or something like that. He might look around like, I ain't signed up for this. Because he's been out the game. His body has gotten used to not being, going into those head-on car collisions. So we'll see if Myles Garrett signing to being traded to the Los Angeles Rams, bring Aaron Donald out. Now, will it be interesting to see? Sure. But the Rams also have a youth movement on that defensive side of the ball too, with Braden Fisk and Young and all those guys over there. So when you have that going on, you also don't want to disrupt that too. So we'll see how that goes. You know, that's just really what it is. And like I said, when you got somebody like Les Snead, this isn't a reckless move for him. This is calculated. This is what he does. He traded for Matt Stafford. He traded for Jalen Ramsey. They went all in and they won the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to go against what he's doing. But it's definitely a risk to it. You know, so, you know, I guess right now, we won't have a real clear consensus on who won this trade for a few years, to be totally honest. You know, Myles Garrett is probably going to be out there for the next few years. I think he had just restructured his contract with the Browns. So I think he got 3 years on that deal that's left. And I can't see him playing no better than what he's playing right now. Hopefully he could be a key part of that Rams team and get that Super Bowl for them. And if Jared Verse's game keeps ascending on this Browns growth that they're going through, this growing this young team, and they become a playoff team, I want to see who actually wins this deal. This is something different that we don't see on a regular. To see a Hall of Fame type player in Myles Garrett. Like I said, he's still in the window of his prime, but he's also 30 years old. And you have Jared Verse, who's only 25 years old, and he's figuring out how great he can be. So this is a crazy situation, but I definitely give the Browns an A+ on this trade. They got a lot in return. They got a proven young star and Jared Verse with the picks. I think the Rams won their part of the trade too. Like I said, they in win now mode, so they felt like they needed somebody who can finish the sacks right now, and that is Myles Garrett. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there. Like I said, at the end of the day, the Browns overall won the trade, and this is a part of their youth movement. We got Quinshawn Junkins and Harold Fannin and Nick Emmanwori and Carson Schlesinger and all these guys. All they got to do right now is figure out how to get that quarterback position filled up. And we'll know who won this trade in the next 3 years. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who won this trade to you guys? The Browns or the Rams? Would you have done this trade? Put it in the comments below. To the next video. Peace.